Hi, I'm Mark, and today on Outside Views I want to talk about some very controversial Labour plans. The British Labour Party is considering a ban on new oil and gas drilling in the North Sea, and the industry is appalled by this. According to a media report, the opposition Labour Party is considering a ban on new oil and gas drilling in the British North Sea. And according to this report by The Times, party leader Keir Starmer wants to stop the exploitation of new production sites and invest more in renewable energies if he wins the general election next year. In Scotland in particular, the oil and gas production industry is an important employer. Energy Secretary Grant Shapps of the ruling Conservative government on Monday accused Labour of an ideological feud against the oil industry. In his words, the government, on the other hand, is acting pragmatically by issuing new drilling licenses. Tory, pragmatically? No. The responsible authority, the North Sea Transition Authority, the NSTA, received 115 bids from 76 companies in the current auction round for new production licenses. However, some companies, such as Harbour Energy, complain that the high special profit tax makes investments in British exploration unattractive. Labour were accused of undermining the UK's energy security after it emerged that the party was considering banning North Sea oil and gas licenses should it win the next elections. The reports in the Sunday Times suggested that Keir Starmer and his shadow chancellor, Rachel Reeves, were minded to block any new development in what remains the UK's key offshore energy field. The industry trade body Offshore Energies UK, or OEUK, hit back at the plan, saying that around 42% of the UK's electricity comes from gas-fired power stations and that the transition towards greener energy must be a partnership. OEUK warned that effectively shutting down the North Sea as an energy-producing region would play into the hands of foreign governments. Proponents of new projects argue greater energy independence and security would strengthen the UK's hand in foreign policy. Energy prices across Europe spiked immediately after the Russian invasion of Ukraine as Western governments stopped buying Russian energy. And whilst Britain was not a direct buyer in any significant sense of Moscow's energy reserves, it led to a price spike there nonetheless, and even more than in other places. But Labour has been accused of sabotaging Scotland's energy future after Keir Starmer said the party would block those new oil and gas developments. Former First Minister Alex Salmond dubbed the Labour leader the North Sea job destroyer and said every future development should be given consent, but only if it has carbon capture plans in place. The Alba Party leader said that neither a Labour or Tory government would commit to including carbon capture proposals, and Scotland needs independence to have control of their own resources. It comes as the Scottish Tories demanded Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar clarify his party's stance on new investment in the oil and gas sector. As part of the energy plans, the newspaper reported a Starmer-run government would only borrow to invest in green enterprises, and that Labour expects its plans to create up to 500,000 jobs in the renewables industry, including 50,000 in Scotland. In its draft energy strategy published in January, the Scottish government said there should be a presumption against new exploration for oil and gas, as it proposed making the fastest possible just transition. But Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has backed new oil and gas exploration, and energy licenses are under Westminster's control. And as I said, Energy Secretary Grant Shapps accused Labour of strengthening Russian President Vladimir Putin's campaign to use energy as a weapon against the West with the Labour plans. The plans to stop investments in new oil and gas projects do not come as a surprise, since Starmer called on other countries to form a clean power alliance to rival the OPEC group of oil exporting countries during a speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos. In a bid to transform the UK into a world leader in renewables and a clean energy superpower, Labour's proposals seem to put the UK at risk of becoming over-reliant on wind power, even though some experts claim that it is a mischaracterization to say that Labour's policies all depend on the wind energy. As this comes at a time when the UK's windfall tax hike on oil and gas producers' profits has led multiple players to contemplate downgrading their UK portfolio or even exiting the North Sea to find other oil and gas playgrounds with a lower tax environment, many, including the UK's representative body for the offshore energy industry, they believe that Labour's proposals on oil and gas would undermine the country's energy security, also threaten jobs, and send import bills surging. The British oil and gas industry has played a significant role in the country's economy for several decades. The industry involves the exploration, extraction, and production of oil and natural gas resources within the United Kingdom's territory, including offshore areas of the North Sea. The North Sea oil and gas fields have been the primary source of hydrocarbon reserves in the UK. The discovery of significant oil and gas reserves in the North Sea during the 1960s and 1970s marked the beginning of the UK's oil and gas industry. The region has been a vital source of energy supply for the country and has contributed to its energy independence. Offshore drilling platforms and infrastructure are essential components of the UK's oil and gas industry. These platforms are located in the North Sea and enable the extraction of hydrocarbons from beneath the seabed. The oil and gas industry has made substantial contributions to the UK economy over the years. It has created jobs, stimulated economic growth, and contributed to tax revenues. The industry has also supported various service sectors such as engineering, logistics, and technology. The UK's oil and gas production has declined over the past few decades as many of the easily accessible reserves have been depleted. However, efforts have been made to extend the lifespan of existing fields and explore new opportunities in challenging environments, such as deeper waters and harsh weather conditions. In recent years, the UK has been actively transitioning toward cleaner and more sustainable sources of energy as part of its efforts to combat climate change. This transition has led to increased investment in renewable energy sectors like offshore wind and solar power, which has affected the oil and gas industry until the Tory U-turn. As oil and gas fields reach the end of their productive lives, decommissioning becomes necessary. And decommissioning involves the safe and environmentally responsible removal of offshore infrastructure. It presents both a challenge and an opportunity for the industry, with the potential for expertise and technologies developed in the sector to be exported globally. The UK government has been emphasizing the importance of carbon capture and storage technologies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but we see more of that in Scotland than in London. CCS involves capturing carbon dioxide emissions from industrial processes and storing them underground. The oil and gas industry can play a crucial role in developing and implementing CCS technologies if they want to. The UK government, through regulatory bodies like the Oil and Gas Authority, oversees the oil and gas industry's operations. The authority aims to maximize economic recovery from the UK oil and gas resources while ensuring safe operations and minimizing environmental impacts if it works. The transition from a fossil fuel-dependent energy system to a low-carbon future poses challenges for the oil and gas industry, though. The sector must adapt and diversify its operations, invest in renewable energy and clean technologies, and explore opportunities in emerging sectors such as hydrogen production. It is important to note that the British oil and gas industry is evolving as the country moves towards a greener and more sustainable energy landscape if the government lets them. The focus on renewable energy and carbon reduction presents both challenges and opportunities for the industry, but also for its stakeholders. But they will only take up the task of the challenge as much as they need to if there is no just let's go on. And the new oil and gas licenses in the North Sea are definitely a wrong signal here. And well, everything is open until the next general election, but at least we have one big difference that is showing finally between Labour and the Tories, and that is the stance on oil and gas now, and having something you can see differences between two major parties that are running for the next election is not a bad thing, I must say. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.